The F-4EJ Kai is the latest jet fighter added to the Japanese tech tree. But what just is the Kai designation? Japan had quite a lot of F-4EJ Phantoms, but decided they needed upgrades. This is where the Kai variant comes from. All of the F-4EJ Kais are basically upgrades to already existing airframes. These are not new planes per se, rather vastly modernised older planes. In real life, the upgraded F-4EJ Kais had new HUD, INS, radar warning receiver, compatibility with air-to-surface munitions, but most importantly for us in War Thunder, it was the addition of the APG-66J radar, basically the same radar as found on the F-16. This has pulse Doppler capabilities, as well as a look-down feature, and is probably the most advanced radar currently in War Thunder, at least in terms of aircraft. I also mentioned the compatibility with air-to-surface munitions. In real life, the F-4EJ Kai could carry a pretty potent anti-ship missile, but we currently don't have this in War Thunder. But in the future, who knows? Alright lads, today we're going to be taking a look at the F-4EJ Kai. This is a rank 7, battle rating 11.0 jet fighter located in the Japanese tech tree. To unlock this plane, you're going to have to grind out 390,000 research points before purchasing the jet for a cost of 1,060,000 silver lions. This is one hell of a grind, and you'll have to unlock the previous Phantom variant to even start researching this plane. So is it worth it? Well, that's what I'm going to try to answer in this video. After already paying a large amount to actually purchase the vehicle, you're going to have to fork out another 300,000 silver lions to put this vehicle in your lineup. And then it doesn't get any better. As with all top tier vehicles, I would highly recommend getting the Expert in Ace qualifications. For the F-4EJ Kai, it costs 1,060,000 silver lions for the Expert qualification, and 3,000 Golden Eagles for the Ace qualification. A very hefty investment indeed. But without spoiling the video, this investment is well worth it in my opinion. The addition of the new radar, as well as some of the new missiles this plane gets access to, makes this plane by far the best jet in the Japanese tech tree, and almost certainly the best Phantom currently in the game. As I said in the introduction, the F-4EJ Kai was rather a modernisation of the already existing EJ airframes. This means they didn't really change much in terms of engine performance or aerodynamic capability. This means that the plane still uses the General Electric J79 GE17 engines, producing 5,200 kg of thrust when at military power and 8,010 kg of thrust when afterburning. Remember, you do have two of these, so you do have quite a lot of thrust coming out those engines. But as a Phantom, you are substantially heavier than other jets. Regardless, these two powerful engines give you a climb rate of 171 meters per second, which for a Phantom is pretty good. It's not as good as the British FGR-2, but compared to most other jet fighters, it's quite lackluster. You can also reach a top speed of 2,339 km per hour at an altitude of 12,000 meters. But like with pretty much all other Phantoms in the game, the best performance is found at low to mid altitudes. Actually climbing up to 12,000 meters will just make you missile bait. There isn't really too much to say about the F-4EJ Kai's performance, as it is exactly the same as the F-4EJ. It has exactly the same climb rate, turn rate, and maximum speeds, as well as takeoff run. So if you're used to flying the F-4EJ, then hey, you're gonna like the F-4EJ Kai. One notable absence from the F-4EJ Kai is the Agile Egon upgrade package. This is found on the American F-4E, which subsequently makes it much more agile compared to other Phantoms. The lack of this package on the F-4EJ Kai means that it isn't really great in a dogfight. You will be outturned by the American F-4E Phantom, as well as pretty much every other jet found at top tier, with the exception of the British FGRs. So use those engine powers and stay fast. To summarise though, the performance of the F-4EJ Kai is nothing to scoff at. It's not the best Phantom in the game, and it's certainly not the best performing jet at top tier. It's fast, it climbs well, can't really complain about that. The true performance of the F-4EJ Kai comes from its additional weaponry, which we'll talk about next. When we're talking about the offensive capabilities of the F-4EJ Kai, it makes sense to start with the APG-66J radar. This radar was first produced for the American F-16 fighter project, and features both pulse Doppler as well as look-down modes. Pulse Doppler determines a range to a target using pulse timing techniques, and then uses the Doppler effect of the returning signal to determine the target's velocity. This works well for planes either going towards you or going away from you, as the pulse Doppler radar measures both the distance between the plane, the one that's coming towards you, and the ground clutter below. If an enemy jet turns away from you, with his wingtip towards your nose, he will simply blend into the ground clutter, making himself effectively blind to pulse Doppler radar modes. However, pulse Doppler radar is very effective in War Thunder, mainly because at the start of a game, most players do fly directly towards the enemy's airfield, basically going directly towards each other. This is a great time to fire off your Sparrow missiles and get a few easy pulse Doppler kills. However, I will note, if an enemy is above you, it's always better switching back to regular radar modes. But what would a Phantom be without its good old fashioned 20mm rotator cannon? This is the JM6 1A1 cannon. It has a fire rate of 6,000 rounds per minute, but a total ammunition count of 640 rounds. The 20mm Vulcan is incredibly powerful at the minute in War Thunder. Its incredibly high fast fire rate, as well as the tracer rounds, means you can basically walk the rounds onto target, making them especially deadly in a head-on. Like pretty much all of the other Phantoms, you can also carry gun pods, giving you 2 more 20mm cannons. These gun pods both contain a total ammunition of 3,600 rounds, giving you an insane amount of firepower. Being in an American designed plane, you can also carry a healthy amount of bombs, including the 500-pound Mark 82s, destroying any vehicle within a radius of 8 meters, as well as the 750-pound Cone 45 bombs, destroying any vehicle within a radius of 11 meters. These bombs are alright, but you do lack the massive 1,000 and 2,000 pound bombs found on the American variants. You can also carry a selection of rockets, including the Mighty Mouse rockets, which can penetrate 290mm of armour, but have rather low post-penetration damage effects, or the Zuni Mark 32s, which have much higher post-penetration damage, as well as actual penetration values, but are much larger rockets, meaning you can only carry a fraction, compared to the much smaller Mighty Mouse. We then move on to the missiles, and your stock missiles are actually the AIM-9Ps. These are very advanced Sidewinder missiles, just as good as the AIM-9Js found on the American variants. These are infrared guided, and have a rear lock range of 5.5 kilometers. They can pull 20 Gs in flight, and have a launch overload of 7 Gs, as I said, making them very potent air-to-air missiles. The Sidewinders will make up pretty much the majority of your kills, but our next missiles will probably be the start of the game missile. These are the AIM-7E Sparrows. These are already in the game on various other vehicles, and are pretty lackluster. These missiles are semi-active radar homing, meaning you will have to require a radar lock before firing, and then maintain that lock right up until the missile hits the target. The AIM-7Es can have a maximum overload of 15 Gs, and have a launch overload of 4 Gs, which is pretty low. Thankfully, however, the F-4EJ Kai gets access to the AIM-7E-2 Sparrows. These are upgraded, giving them 25 Gs of maximum overload, but they retain that poor overload during launch of 4 Gs. This isn't much of a problem, because you're usually launching them directly at a player, usually at the start of a match, where you're pretty much just travelling in a straight line. The AIM-7E-2 missiles, in combination with your great radar set, is an easy way to get 1 or 2 kills at the start of a game. But to conclude, the offensive capability of the F-4EJ Kai are very good. You have guns, bombs, rockets, and very potent missiles. While there are planes that outperform you, and even planes that carry better and more important missiles, the sheer flexibility of the F-4EJ Kai is unmatched at the minute in War Thunder. Before we get into the conclusion, let me know down below in the comments what you guys think about the F-4EJ Kai, and what plane, vehicle or ship you guys would like to see reviewed next. To be honest lads, the F-4EJ Kai is basically just an F-4EJ with an upgraded radar system. Personally, I do think that this plane is worth grinding out. It's a lot better than the F-4EJ found in the tech tree. The radar system is very good, however it's not particularly useful in ground realistic or air realistic to be honest. It's very good in simulator battles. You can spot most players with your eyes really, you don't really need the radar to acquire targets. And the radar is useful for firing off Sparrows, but that is pretty much just the start of a game. While you can get Sparrow kills from behind, you can get a radar lock from enemies flying away from you and get a kill like that. It's not the most reliable, and the learning curve for radar missiles is a little bit high, because you have to set a lot of keybinds and then know when to change it, when to switch radar. But it is well worth learning, and it is well worth grinding out this jet. It would have been a lot better if it did have the Agile Eagle upgrade. It would have at least given it a little bit better performance in a dogfight. In the current matchmaker of F-5Es, the Drakens, the Vigans, planes that are very, very high mobility as well as top speed, having a little bit better turn rate would have been a very welcome addition in my opinion. But hey ho, the F-4EJ Kai is still a very, very good plane. I do enjoy flying it, but isn't really too much different from the already existing Phantoms to be honest. There's nothing new and flashy apart from that missile, and as I said, it's only really useful at the start of a game. In my opinion, I think that the F-4E is still probably a lot better all-rounder. It's just the same speed with a little bit better mobility basically. And it does also get the same missiles, it just doesn't have that radar. So is the F-4EJ Kai good? Yes. Is it the best in the game? No. But that's all from me, lads. As I said, let me know down below whether I'm right, whether you think I'm wrong. I'm generally interested to know what you guys think. That being said, thank you very much for watching, lads, and I'll see you in the next video.